Kim, how did you find carnivore?
Well, for me, it was it, I was really struggling with my health. I've had IBS for about 10 to 18 years, I think. I think it started obviously when I was around 30, and I'm 48 now, so that's about 18 years. And I was getting to the point where I was literally getting scared. It felt out of control. I'll come back to that, but it actually led me to saying a particular prayer. And I didn't actually pray for help with my IBS or for losing weight because I was very overweight at the time and very depressed about it. Um, I'd given up on trying to lose weight by that point. I was so fed up with it all. Years of dieting had done that to me. I was just like, what is the point? Um, but I actually prayed a prayer. Oh, I felt led to pray a very strange prayer to me, and it was, Lord, break any strongholds in my life. And that came from when my dad died 4 years ago. It came out through counselling that I'd got this really strange idea that I always had to be the happy one in life. I was never allowed to be unhappy. And that made grieving my dad really difficult for me because I was angry with myself for being unhappy. Very strange. But I've suddenly realised the importance of what we think and how that can affect how we live our lives and the decisions we make and everything. Um, and I find it interesting when I watch videos these days, particularly on your channel, when we talk about the narrative. What does the narrative say we should think about food and health and all of that? So by praying that prayer, I think that's what really started breaking down some of these things I held really deeply within me from years of being taught them. And it just put me in a place where I could finally hear a different point of view and actually take it seriously. So I prayed that prayer, and nothing miraculously happened the next day or anything, but I did have a conversation with a friend at work. And it was a conversation very much like this one because I work in Bournemouth and my colleague works in Liverpool, and we'd never met in person. So he's a friend, but I hadn't met him at that point. It was very strange. And he's an open book, and he was saying to me, I think you should go and watch this video, Kim. I really do think you need to go and watch this video. And I'm like, oh, will you stop banging on about this video? He keeps mentioning it. It was a video called Fact Fiction. Um, and I eventually went, oh, just to keep him off my back, really. So that's a little shout. Thanks to John. I'll go and watch this video called Fact Fiction. Um, And to be honest, I was a bit bored for the first 20 minutes of it or something. I was like, oh, whatever. And then I went back and continued watching it. And this is reminding me of a book I read once. I read a book, I can't remember how many years ago, called Why We Get Fat and What We Can Do About It by Gary Taubes. I think it's how you pronounce his name. And I'd been fascinated by the book at the time, but all I'd taken away from that book was it's okay to eat butter. You don't just have to eat margarine. And if you inject insulin, you're going to get fat. That's what I remembered from the book, but it hadn't translated much into me changing my attitude towards my own diet. Um, but there was so much in the why we get fat and what we could do about it that was tying in with what I learned from that. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I was kind of thinking about that, ruminating on that, wondering about it. But of course, that twisted the algorithm on YouTube. So I came across it was Jordan Peterson first on the Joe Rogan show, like a lot of people. And I'd already sort of listened to a couple of his stories elsewhere and realised, oh, he's a very intelligent man, obviously very learned. And I was just amazed at the courage that it took to tell his story. But he was so relaxed and it just seemed so genuine. And I'm like, well, it's his daughter. Why would he tell lies about his daughter? This bit sounds so weird. Then I had to go and look up Michaela Peterson and I found out about the lion diet. And I remember my instant reaction is there's no way in the world I could ever just eat meat. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Who would do that to themselves? Um, but the next video I saw was Dr. Ken Perry talking about the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs challenge that was a couple of years ago. Then he set the challenge, but I was hearing it for the first time. And I was like, ah, I like all of those things. That doesn't sound particularly hard. Um, but then my next thought is like, my husband's going to think I've gone insane. Um, I'm not quite sure how to have this conversation with him because I do the cooking for both of us, and I think that he loves his fruit and vegetables. There's no way. Um, so I was thinking about it for a few days after that. Um, but I came to the realization that Michaela did it because she had health issues, and I obviously had major health issues with digestion every day. So just to go back to where I was, because it was a pretty miserable time. The IBS was the biggest thing in my life, along with all the perimenopausal symptoms. Sorry, you get when you get older. So I was every morning bloating by the time I saw all this. It wasn't always that way. It started off with a bit of bloating. I cut out gluten um, because I'd always known that bread was a bit iffy for me, but I liked the taste of bread, so I just persevered with eating it anyway. Um, but I cut out bread, then missed bread, so put in gluten-free bread. Um, and I went to the doctors about 3 or 4 times along the way. Um, I'm kind of grateful they never actually sent me off for further tests. I mean, interestingly, my mum, my dad, and my sister have all had similar gut issues, and they all had to go and have the camera down and other things. And I never got sent that way, which I'm, happy about, really. I did get offered a medication pretty much straight away, which I tried for a week. Didn't make a scrap of difference. And she said, if it doesn't work for you, don't worry. So I didn't. I didn't really want to be on the medication. And I think the advice, I know the advice was eat more fruit and vegetables, which I tried, and made me feel worse. And I knew it would because I knew my own body after all these years anyway. I'm like, why am I doing this? So the doctor said I had to try this. So let's try this. And yeah, no, that was not a good idea. So I just went back to doing what I was already doing, which was sort of trying to work out what was setting off my episodes and what wasn't. I already worked out it was partly emotional. So if I got excited or upset or nervous, then obviously my tummy would react accordingly. But it definitely was my food. It was now developing to the stage where it was after almost everything I ate. And that was after one doctor's visit where she said, well, it could be your food, just making the connection. And she printed off all of these papers about the FODMAP diet. Um, I didn't really read the papers, but I went and looked up the FODMAP diet myself, and they give you a list of these things you can eat, and these things you can't eat. But there were lots of vegetables and things on both sides. And I go, oh, okay, apparently I can have that. So then it was 3 or 4 years of constantly trying things, eliminating things, but I never wiped out everything and started fresh. So I just like take a few things out. Do I feel better or not? I think I feel a bit better. Okay, but what happens if I re-add that back in? So it was a bit of a chaotic way.
And it becomes so frustrating, right? Because you don't feel like you're making any progress.
I wasn't making any progress. Well, I was making progress because over time it seemed to help for a little while. So I'd have a few months where I've got it locked in, got it locked in. I know what to avoid now. And then I would randomly be ill again, and then it would be me and my husband sit together. So was it when especially if you eat out, because you do not know what they're adding into your food. And so it's like, well, I did ask them not to put that in, but did they put that in? And the onions and garlic. I once we went and stayed in a place where I said I've got IBS and I couldn't have gluten and please don't give me garlic and all of that. And they tried so hard, but the chef still did the fish and chips in beer, and he didn't realise there was gluten in beer, which was just like, what? And my favourite thing about that, he did mushy peas. Fine, I'm English. That's fine. I like my peas mushy. He put garlic in the mushy peas. No one's ever done that to me before. And these peas taste really funny. I had such a bad reaction that night. That was not good.
If you didn't know better, you'd actually think he was trying to sabotage everything.
Yeah, yes. I'm going to hide garlic in mushy peas. It's like, why do I need garlic in mushy peas? I don't know. Anyway, that was really, really weird. Um, but yeah, so I tried to modify my diet myself. So that is how I sold it to my husband, that this is an elimination diet. I'm going to do it for 30 days because that was the challenge I set, was I'm going to do it for at least 30 days to see if it helps. And um, he's really supportive. I knew he'd be right on board with that, going, oh, okay, this is going to help you determine what's causing your issues. That's a good idea. So that is how I presented that to him. Because I had sort of heard about the possible health benefits as well as the weight loss, but for me, it was about getting my IBS under control. All I wanted to do was get it under control and manage it because I thought that's all you could do. But yeah, so I kind of just jumped in, and this tells you more about me than anything else. So I actually am an abstainer, as we call it. My mum's a moderator. My dad, my sister, and I are all abstainers. That's why we all went through catching each other, nicking biscuits out of the biscuit tin when we were going to be on diets. We're all as bad as each other in that regard. We just can't control ourselves. So I caught you eating the biscuits. Yeah, dreadful. Such a sugar addict, etc. So I'm definitely not alone there. But my mum could never understand us. She's like, you're on a diet. Why are we paying all this money to do Weight Watchers or the Cambridge diet or whatever we're doing today? And you're still cheating and still, catch you rifling through the biscuits. I mean,
It's
what are we
like, "You
doing?
moderators, you just don't understand."
She knows. Well, she still doesn't. She's got. I mean, like right now, she's got Easter eggs. Where are we now? She's got Easter eggs. She hasn't touched it. She she like, oh, I'll get round to having them. I'm like, if that was there and I was the old me and I ate that sort of thing, that would have been smashed on Easter Sunday. That would have been good. Yeah. And then I'd have probably gone out and found some more on discount in the supermarket and had those as well because that's how bad it was. I jumped in cold turkey, yeah. So I jumped in and I jumped in on a Tuesday. So I didn't wait for Monday to come around the next week. I jumped in on Tuesday, the 23rd of April, random time of the month. I'm just going to jump in today. Let's just do it. I had the conversation with my husband on the Monday night. I jumped in on the Tuesday and said to him, right, you're finishing up the rice and the potatoes and that with your meals. And I'm just going to just eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, fish, because I do fish. Kept chicken in, and I just went for it and kind of made it up as I went along, watching a lot of YouTube videos to try and educate myself about how other people do it. Didn't know anybody else that was doing it. Um, I thought I was weird for doing it. I really did check myself a couple of times, and I was so grateful when I found your channel. I've been watching your channel for about a year, um, because it just made me feel slightly less weird in those early days, that I wasn't completely losing my mind. Because at times I was like, this, now it feels so normal. I get a bit weird about people finding it weird, but at the time it was such a big departure. And another thing that I made a decision about really early on is that the only person I told was my husband, Steve. I didn't tell anybody else what I was doing, and it was quite easy for me to do that because at lunchtime I tend to go off and eat by myself, so no one sees what I eat particularly. So I eat at home otherwise, and yeah, so I made a very conscious decision not to declare anything, which, my weight loss has been quite slow. So it actually took a long while for people to notice anything specific, although a couple of me said, you look quite well. But they weren't sure why I was looking well. It wasn't like I had dramatic weight loss. Uh, Actually did put on weight a couple of times in the process. And because I was doing it for healing rather than weight loss, although I was kind of a bit disappointed, and going, oh, I put on 3 pounds, that's random. Um, I was noticing physical changes in myself, which meant more. So the biggest physical change for me is the fact I actually have muscles. I'm like, I've got muscles. I'm going up to my husband. Look, I've got a little bicep. So sweet. I've always had really like skinny, pathetic looking arms. And then, like, shrunk my body, body swells up, shrunk my body, body swells up, but little skinny arms. And without really doing much, I mean, I have had times of doing exercise throughout the year. I kind of like walking now, walk because I like being outside in the fresh air more. I often want to get up and stretch at lunchtime. If I went out walking in my previous life to carnivore, it would be because I felt obligated to do so because I'm supposed to, because I'm on a diet, or because, it's good for you. I better go and do some walking. Whereas now it's much more, oh, it's a gorgeous day out there. I just want to be out there in it. Let's go out. It's a very different feeling. It's very liberating, which is great because I work right by the sea, so I can just walk by the sea and see everyone on holiday at this time of year.
Oh, nice.
It's really lovely, yeah. So it calls me out the door, which is good for me. It's true, but it's the difference between wanting to be exercising and feeling obligated. It's a very different feeling. Um, so and then I started seeing all these health benefits come along other than gaining muscle. Some of which I didn't even realise I was that ill until things started improving. So the IBS, actually day three, the massive bloating, because I was severely bloating, so I was spanning out further than my chest, by almost double my chest size after eating. That's what was scaring me about it. And it didn't, I got to the stage where it didn't matter what I ate. So I think it was my gut bacteria completely out of control, really high sugar levels. I, from watching quite a few videos, I've learned skin tags, which I've still got some. I had so many. I'm probably pre-diabetic. I was just avoiding the doctors because I knew I wasn't well, and I was putting it off. Um, they've really gone down my skin tags, and they're shrinking up and going away. So I'm like, yay, because I know in the future I'm going to feel amazing when they shrink and go away. But I know I'm still healing. I'm definitely still, even after a year, still healing. Um, but I'm so grateful. It's great.
So, the IBS is just completely gone?
Not completely, because every now and then I'm still triggered by my emotions. And I also have a bit of an issue if I try fasting. So if I try, I like fasting, and it's one of the ways I lost weight before in my previous life was incorporating fasting. Um, but I haven't found a natural rhythm like a lot of people do of naturally moving into fasting yet. I think it's going to happen because some days I do just find myself naturally extending my fast through the night and on a bit further, and I don't think about it. But usually, if I do it, I am pushing myself to do it, which is that old diet mentality thing, I think, kicking in. It's hard to fight that. You feel like, oh, everyone else is fasting and I might lose weight a bit quicker, or I might heal myself better if I get into autophagy and all the rest of it. So you try these things, and it's okay to experiment. It's good. But like the last couple of times I've tried it, I've only done 24 hours. I'm a dreadful refeeder. That's part of the issue. I kind of start eating, then stuff myself. And again, that could be psychological as well as, it's just this, oh, I've got to eat everything mentality comes over me. And it's just like, I won't just have a couple of eggs, have some eggs, and then have some more eggs. Oh, now I'm having bacon. Now I'm having some meat on top of that. And it's like, I'm actually overeating here, even though it doesn't feel good. Um, so I kind of do it to myself. um, it's so I do think fasting will be part of my future, but maybe not just yet. Because when I do that, then I naturally bring on the pains in my stomach come back and a little bit of bloating. Nothing compared to what it was. And I do still think I've perhaps got some issues with my gut health that still need to settle down some, which makes me think maybe I need to bite the bullet and try the lion diet and see if that actually helps things calm down there. But don't know. I don't think I'm in enough pain with my IBS anymore to do that to myself because I love my bacon
And it
and I
might
love
just
my
be a
eggs.
time thing, like, remember that you jumped straight in, right? So that's disrupted everybody. Um, and coupled with that, it's only been a year or just over a year, so things are probably still settling down.
That's very. And I saw an interview on Kerry Mann's channel, Homestead How, about him saying that it's the 2 year mark or even the 3 year mark for some people that have gut issues to really get the full healing that they're looking for. And I'm like, well, it makes sense, and it's a very complicated part of our system, and there's a lot going on there that we don't fully understand. So all I know is I'm so grateful that I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
So, how many meals are you eating in a day?
Yeah, usually three. I've tried to cut it down, but I think for me, again, it's partly psychological. I just feel deprived if I do that to myself, and then I can overeat. And also because I get up about 6:30 most mornings to go to work, and I was working quite long days up till recently, and I just found by the time I got home to eat dinner, if I got up early and then I couldn't take my lunch until a particular time because I'm a trainer at work, so I'm with people, I can't just eat when I feel like it. So that whole not being able to eat when you're hungry, but having to eat to a timetable thing is still very much holding me to a timetable. And so what would happen is I'd get to lunchtime and go, I'm so hungry. Um, and it was stressful. And then again, cortisol and IBS, not a great combination either. So I'm better off having a small breakfast, usually bacon and eggs, and then just two or three eggs at lunchtime is usually fine. So I'm eating a lot of eggs. And then in the evening, actually, been through a bit of a change because for about a year, it was I cook Steve whatever he's having, and he'd have the protein and rice or protein and potato, whatever, and vegetables. And I'd take whatever the protein was. So if it was salmon, I'd have salmon with some meat or eggs or whatever. Or I'd have the chicken breast with whatever, adding lots of fat to that if I could to make that bit more palatable. But now he's recently switched, so he's not doing the carnivore by any stretch of the imagination because he loves his fruit still and he likes his ice cream. But on the evening meals, he will often join me and have whatever I'm having, and that's just simplified my life so much. And he's enjoying it. He's enjoying it. So I'm just praying him down that path. Um, but he's as
Oh,
stubborn as I am, so I can't tell him what to do.
that So, did you say you've got a training job?
Yeah, I train
So
for a pensions company.
right, so you're in front of participants often.
Oh yeah,
I'm
a lot
just
of the
thinking
time.
that's the worst job for snacks because there's often snacks lying around and it's easy to pick up. Oh,
Well, I mean, most of mine's in an office, and as is the typical office, when it's someone's birthday, food comes in. If it's Friday, food comes in. If someone else bought too much food, food comes in, and so we've got a desk. The company's good; they provide fruit because they're trying to provide healthy options for people. And they were just so kind because when I went gluten free, they made sure there were gluten free snacks in there for me, which is really kind. And then I had to turn around and say, I'm not eating any of this stuff anymore. I did have to
can
let
you
them know at the
can you give
Christmas
us some
party.
free bacon?
Yeah, I'll do bacon. I'll bring my own bacon. It's fine. So whenever we do a food event in the office, which is not that infrequent, I will bring my own bacon in or something, and people just like, "Ooh, you're eating bacon." So the cat is definitely out of the bag at work now. They all know where I stand, and they all know I'm a carnivore now, and the
And what's
conversations
the
have begun.
reaction then?
um, it's been mixed. Most people go, "That's extreme." I've been told, "Oh, that's too extreme." Or they go, I'm glad you found something that works for you, which makes me really sad for them because it would work for them too. I know it would work for them too. Or the more honest answer is, I don't think I could do that or I'd want to do that, which is interesting because I've never said, I think you should do that. I never put anyone on the spot like that because I remember how completely it blew my mind at the beginning. But there's quite a few people go, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, "I wasn't asking you to. It's strange that you say that." Um, but okay. It's almost like people feel a sense of judgment that perhaps they should. I've had quite a few people ask me about vitamin C. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's almost like, people when they're interested, but when they start talking about it, they feel like, "Oh, I should be feeling bad about my diet, should I?" And then they get a little bit defensive or something. It's a very weird reaction, but it's common.
It's so common. There's a pattern to it. Most people seem to react that way, and it's like I don't know if they feel obligated to say that because they've shown an interest, and now they're like terrified you're going to make them do it, like you could. But yeah, they've got one friend at work who asked me about why I was looking so well quite early on before I started openly telling people, and I told him. He shared a little bit about his own health journey, which obviously I won't share because it's not my story. And he tried it for a while, but last I heard, he kind of slipped off. And again, I think he's a young man, and the temptations, and he travels a lot. Um, I think he was finding it difficult to afford, even though I was trying to get him on the ground beef, make your own smash burgers. Come on, it's not that hard. But he's got it in his toolkit now, so he knows I'm still rooting him on. And John, who introduced me to Fat Fiction, he went the keto route, and he was doing so well. He was doing so well for quite some time, and then he had reoccurrent health issues because keto doesn't quite go far enough. And also, he found the keto crisps and the keto cakes and the keto add the list. And he's got a family who all eat that stuff around him. So he's recently restarted his keto journey, and it doesn't matter how many times I go, yeah, keto's good, but not the kind of way. Um, I'm quite honest with him because he was really honest with me at the beginning, and he's that sort of person. So I am quite to the point with him. Most people, um, I kind of say, I understand it can help with diabetes, and people have reversed their diabetes. You should go and look into this carnivore thing. It's reversed this, it's done this. But because that's not what I personally have been through, I think people with IBS will listen to me more because I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is to sit there crying, holding your stomach, going, I'm just so fed up with this particular thing. But we all have our own struggles, don't we?
Right, right. So, can you see yourself doing this forever?
Yes. I can't see any reason why I would change. It's so normal to me now. I think, I mean, I went out with drinks after work last night, so for me that's tap water while everyone drinks alcohol around me. And I was sitting there going, this is great because I get to hang out with my friends. We're all having a great time. I haven't drunk alcohol for over a year now, and I don't miss it. I miss the idea of it, but I don't miss it. Um, Alcohol was never a particularly big thing of mine, but I don't miss chocolate. Chocolate was my big thing. And when I gave up gluten, oh my word, when I found out they put wheat in Cadbury's, which is our chocolate bar of choice over here in the UK, I'm like, why would you put wheat in Cadbury's? Why? And I thought, oh no, that line of chocolate is cut off to me forever. And then I found some of their that didn't contain wheat, and that chocolate addiction continued until carnivore. So it's just opened up my life so much being on this way of eating. It shut it down in many ways. Going out and socializing is more difficult. And it's seed oils because I'm trying to avoid them because they definitely inflame my stomach. I got no doubt because I've been out and I've had steaks and found out afterwards that, oh, my tummy's hurting. Steaks don't do this to me. And you're like, oh, they cooked it in seed oil. I need to get stronger at advocating for myself and saying, I cannot eat seed oils. Please don't cook with them. But even if you advocate for it, I don't think people understand how inflammatory they are and how much pain they can give you internally if you have them, if you're sensitive to it.
Yeah. I always worry as well when you go in there and you say, "I don't eat seed oils. Do you have butter to cook with?" And they say, "Yes." I always worry because the average person conflates margarine with butter, right? So it's like, "Oh, we've got some yellow stuff, so I'll put that on the grill." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And also, even the butter itself, I was at a function and they brought round butter. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just eat on the butter. And I hope no one spots me eating butter at a wedding. I, I then read I read the back of this little tiny mini packet of butter, and I'm like, it contains 70% butter. What is in the 30%? What is in the 30%?
That's a bit weird.
I'm not going to eat that. If it's only containing 70% butter, it's meant to be a pat of butter. I
So
don't know.
I've just got visions now of this wedding party, this wedding reception, where the bride and groom are starting to do the speeches, and someone's saying, "What's the lady doing sitting in the corner over there eating butter pats?"
Well, I've been to two weddings this year, and I haven't been to weddings in ages. And the first wedding was I was only about a month into the carnivore, and I was so determined to keep going. And I spoke to my friends, so they were a couple of the first. I had to let Holly and Andrew know on. So when it comes to your wedding breakfast, which we call the dinner, can I be really awkward and just have just meat and eggs, or just meat, or just eggs, but just you don't have to complicate it. Can you do something? And they're like, sure, Kim, you're looking a lot better, by the way. Yeah, oh, if that helps you. So they'd sort of noticed I was looking better. They hadn't necessarily understood what I was doing, but so I literally had bacon and eggs at their wedding, which was amazing. And then I went to my cousin's wedding, and I didn't know what I was going to have when I got there, so I went with spare snacks in case I had some ground beef in my bag. I was prepared just in case, but the message had got through, and I got chicken and I can't remember now. Oh, and some lamb. It was really nice, actually. It was very nice. So I was taken care of. It was good.
Nice. You had some ground beef in your handbag.
I had some ground beef in my bag. I had
So,
some pork scratchings, which is probably, and then I had some pre-cooked ground beef, well, squashed down into burger patties. What? You have
I
to
I
be prepared.
I'm
Single
just
guide, you know.
I'm
I know
just
these things.
wondering, did any dogs try and follow you into the wedding reception?
No, but if I go walking down the beach, some dogs show an unusual amount of interest in me. I think I'm wafting off bacon and beef and eggs. It's all good.
Ah, that's awesome. Um, so if you were giving someone advice, like one of your friends comes to you and says, "Okay, Kim, I wanna try this. What do I do?" Based on your experience, what advice would you give them?
um, I tell them a bit about my own journey, but then I would also say, hey, you may not be like me and crazy and just jump straight in. I've heard lots of people say it's better to transition and take things out a bit at a time. Might be less scary for your gut bacteria and all this to it. Because I did have issues, the usual issues with the transition at the beginning. I had a couple of interesting weeks, but after what I'd already been through, wasn't a big deal for me. Could really put some people off. Could really put some people off. So I think you've got to be honest. I've had a few conversations like that. Um, if they can, I will just hit them up with a whole bunch of YouTube videos where they go through the beginner's guide to carnivore from doctors and like Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Chafee, just list them all. Um, because that helps give them reassurance that they're not completely insane. Because I know I felt better when I started finding doctors doing it themselves, going, yeah. All right. It's yeah, I'm not losing my marbles. So partly that, and also because although I've taken in a lot of information, I'm not really a science geek, and I can't really explain it that clearly. I kind of say things like, "Yeah, you don't really need to worry about the cholesterol question too much because it turns out you need the fluffy sort." Anyway, I can't really break it down further than that. But all I can say is that I'm just feeling so much better. I felt like I was on my way to a heart attack. I had anxiety about it. I had swelling of the feet coming along. I knew I needed to go to a doctor, and I really didn't want to. All of that's gone now. So that's fantastic. But so I can tell them. like headlines, if they ask me direct questions, I will tell them to do their own research and work out whether they just need to just jump in because it's so urgent for them, or whether they should transition in so they have a more gentle experience. Um, but one of my friends who asked me about it, she wasn't on YouTube, and I'm like, how am I going to do it? I'll show you. I've put together this lovely Word document. I spent ages on it. And what's so sad is she went away, she read it, she handed it back, and she said, Kim, that was so kind of you to do that, but it's just too extreme. So I'm going to go and talk to my doctor about my diabetes diagnosis and do what they tell me. It, I'm smiling, but it breaks my heart at the same time because I really care about her and I care about a lot of my friends, and it's just painful, that part. But anyway, I've got that Word document if anyone wants to get it from me. If they've got any other one, any friends that are older maybe or don't do online, which there are out there, I've tried to put together some stuff.
Nice. Um, so, Kim, do you have any way of reaching out? Do you have any social media that people can contact you on?
I'm always on Facebook, so through Facebook is a good way to reach out to me. Other than that, no, not really. But people can have my email address, which I'll give to you obviously later. But yeah, I'm happy to communicate by email, or they can come find me on Facebook. I've never gone on YouTube or anything like that. I haven't got time to be doing that. I'm on calls all day long anyway because I'm a trainer. Um, but I mean, yeah, just reach out to me. If I can give you any guidance at all, I will. If not, I'll try and point you towards the right YouTube video because I've been down that particular rabbit hole for a long time. Well, it feels like a long time, not as long as you.
No worries. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and experience with us, Kim. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, Dave. I'm really pleased, and I'm grateful. Your channel has been part of my story and part of helping me to hold on in the early days. And I always point people in your direction. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble if I don't mention my sister has also recently joined the carnivore community. She's about week 4, and she'll definitely be watching this. And she's been watching your channel and getting. So I'm so excited for my sister. So come on, Roz, you got this.
What's your name, Roz?
Roz, yeah.
You can do it, Roz. Keep going.